Good morning, everybody. My name's Ami. It's so great to be with you all today. We're going to stand for this one. Please join me. This is a really easy. If you'd like to stand, you don't have to. But this is a really easy one. Has anyone heard the song by Ricky Byers, "God Is So Good"? Okay, good. You know this one. For those of you that haven't heard the song, it's really easy. Let me just teach it to you quickly. I'll sing a line, and then we'll sing it together. It goes like this. God is so good. Let's try that together. God is so... One more time, a little louder. God is so good. And the second part goes, my God is so good to me. Let's try that. My God is so good to me. You got it. This whole song, pretty much. And if you want, we can do this. Add a little bit of rhythm. I don't have a drummer here, so you'll be the drummer. I got up this morning singing. Here we go. God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. That's it. Feeling good down in my soul. God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul. Feeling good down in my soul. God is so good. In my time of triumph, God is so good. In my time of triumph, oh yeah, God is so good. In my time of triumph, praise God, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Every day in every way, God is so good. Every day in every way, God is so good. Every day in every way, God is so good. My God is so good to me. One last time, here we go. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. Hey, my God is so, oh my God is so, oh, my God is so good to me.
Ami Taban, we're so blessed to have you. Ami Taban hails from Mount Shasta. And oh my goodness, we are so blessed to have him. He tours all over the country and into Canada. He has shared his music with the likes of Matthew Fox, Adyashanti, Ganga G, Martha Creek. I mean, you're amazing. And when we talked on the phone, we wanted to get us up and energized, and yeah, he did that, right? Yeah. He will have CDs available for sale after service in the social hall. And just a couple more things about him. His music is inspired by years of his own meditation and deep spiritual practice. As you might guess, it's very heart-opening. He has also recorded and played with artists like Kirtana Wah, Kathy Zavada, and Jennifer Barason. Do I say that right? Jennifer Barason? Barazin. Okay. So, in short, we are very blessed and hope that this won't be the last time you join us. So welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in partnership with Medford Unity. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, the senior minister here. It's my pleasure to be with you all. It's great to see you all. Our cast of characters this morning includes Reverend Kim Bebo, who will be doing our invocation and reading, and Laura Stewart, who did a beautiful meditation earlier, will be holding high watch throughout the service. Is there anybody here for the very first time? If so, we'd just like to give you a little love. If you'd raise your hand. Anybody here for the first time? Okay. But a big welcome. As you know, we welcome each of you no matter where you may happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. And we welcome those that are watching online, either live or later as well. So let's see. Please turn your cell phones off or on airplane mode if you have not done so already. It is the first Sunday of the month, so if you have a birthday in June, and I noticed in our newsletter there are quite a few of you, we'd like you to stand and we'll sing a quick version of Happy Birthday to You. The last lines are happy birthday, we sure do love you. June birthdays.
Happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. We sure do love you. Woo! All right, time now in our service to take a collective deep breath together. We're going to turn it over to Ami once again to prepare us for our invocation and reading. And as usual, I'm going to ask that we hold our applause at the end of this next song so that we can stay in that meditative state and go right into prayer.
Home is a place I go. A home is a place I know. A home does not want or need. Home lets things be. A new start, an open heart. It's so clear. Home is right here.
In this moment, in this sacred space, as we come together to know that we are one in God, that God is all there is, that God is the essence of each individual here. As we are in and through God, Spirit surrounds us in the love and the beauty and the joy of the music that unfolds, that brings us into ourselves, into harmony with the one, with Spirit, with ourselves. And as each and every one of us is connected with the one, is the knowing that the presence of that one is within. There is no separation. There is only love. And I realize that each person here brings to this ministry, to this congregation, to these individuals that are here and everyone that is outside of here, on their computer watching us, anywhere. And as we move through our day, we bring our love and our joy with us. And I'm so grateful for the musicians, for Ami, for those who serve to make this streaming into the world, this service into the world, for the children, for the teens who are doing a wonderful salad bar today, for Reverend Kimberly, who will give expression to what she knows, to all that God has whispered in her ear, has whispered in each of our ears. And in that oneness, I am incredibly grateful. And if you'll join with me, and so it is. And our reading today is from Unity's Daily Word from March 25th of this year. I relax into the divine rhythms of life. I am honoring God when I take care of myself. And one of the best ways to make sure I can accomplish all that is mine to do is to take time for rest. Even a small time out serves to relax me and renew my perspective, making goals feel reachable and life's puzzles easier to solve. Even better, an entire day spent restfully has even greater benefits. Getting adequate rest, enjoying a leisurely meal, and spending unhurried time with my favorite people nourish me like rainfall on a parched land. I honor my body's needs, resting when I need to, for as long as I need to. My mind opens and my body feels refreshed. I relax, rest, and find gracious, restorative balance. And so it is.
A friend sent me a poem a while back, and it said, there was a line in there, uni-verse, like one verse. And it had never occurred to me before that every time I used the word universe, it meant one song. You all probably knew that already, but I got really excited when I heard that, and it turned into this song. Something is building, I can hear the momentum. It's the sound of change, the sound of things to come. It's building in our cities, it's building in the towns. It's a song within, waiting to be found. Only you know the part that is written within your heart. One verse, one song, one light shines, one people, one truth, one love divine. We are a one world choir. Higher, heart as wide as the sky above. Our song can heal, so send it out with love. Yeah, yeah. You're the missing voice in this symphony. Everyone is needed for true harmony. The The melody of you is just behind the doubt. Sing and remember what this life's about. Only you know the part that is written within your heart. One verse, one song, one light shines, one people, one truth, one love divine, one love divine, one love divine.
Ami, oh my, the melody of you is just above the doubts. And I don't know if I'm mistaken, Ami, but I seem to hear a little bit of a reggae beat behind that. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Wow. So our theme in Centers for Spiritual Living across the globe for this month of June, the suggested theme is self-care. You got a little glimpse of that in our reading that Reverend Kim did. And I like the timing because I don't know about you, but it's been a long time since I've been in elementary school, right? But there's something about June and that feeling of warm weather that brings back memories of being free, having unstructured time, and being able to sleep or roam or whatever. And I just, to do self-care, to do what feeds us, to do what relaxes and rejuvenates us, I think June brings up all those feelings, hopefully for more people than just me. So I have called our theme for June, Care of the Soul. Because I think when we care for the soul, that eternal essence of who we are, we care for all of us. We tend to have better health. I mean, studies have shown when we do self-care, right, it lowers our blood pressure, it increases our immunity, and so on. So I think we're gonna have some fun with this theme this month. I've entitled the talk this morning, and I'm sorry Nancy Clay isn't here, I've entitled it Shabbat Shalom, which in Hebrew means Sabbath in peace. And I just have always loved that greeting. It comes from Ashkenazi Jews who would, on Friday evening as Sabbath began, would say Shabbat Shalom. Because I think that without that kind of self-care, without Sabbath time, if you will, time to unplug from the duties of everyday life, to unplug from the worries and concerns and to-do list, and to be still, to connect with the spirit within and around us, to spend time with family or chosen family or loved ones, sometimes in stillness and silence and sometimes in reverie and eating. We don't have peace in our lives without taking that kind of time. We tend to substitute other things like buying things or whatever, but it doesn't really bring us peace. And I came to love this idea of Jewish Sabbath, and I'll talk a little bit more about it because I think there's incredible wisdom in the way it operates. Many years ago, when I was pregnant with my first child, Krista, my daughter, I was a reporter at Channel 10 in Phoenix, which is the CBS affiliate there. And I was doing a series of reports called Big on Babies. That title came from our PR department, and I guess they meant it as a working title, and I didn't know that, so I sent out that as the title, and I was big on babies at the time, one, thank God. But I was doing reports on all the decisions first-time parents have to make and all the preparations for having babies. And one night, I think it was probably on my way home, I was in my neighborhood at the ATM machine taking out some money, and this woman about my age approached and said, "Kim Hawkins, I've been watching your series," and she turned around and her belly at 7 months was about the same size as my belly. So Stacy Shalou and I became good friends after that moment. Her daughter Dina was born about 2 weeks before my daughter Krista, and then she had Rachel and I had Tony, and we kind of raised our kids together. And I had the honor a couple times of attending the Shalou household on Friday evening for their Shabbos, where in Yiddish that's the word for Sabbath. And it was just lovely. I, at the time, did not have much of a formal spiritual practice. I was in between the religion of my youth and really, reconnecting to the religion and the spiritual practices of my adulthood. But I would go over there and, everything was beautiful. The table was set with flowers and pretty placemats, and the girls were in dresses, not the kind of frilly, uncomfortable dresses that we used to wear at Easter, but comfortable knit dresses. They looked cute. There was a prayer done, a candle lit. There was challah bread, which I had never heard of, the braided bread that is reserved for, rituals. And I understand traditionally when challah is made, a part of the dough is left aside as an offering. So it was just a very, very sacred time. And I'll never forget that. I'm really grateful to have had that time. Shabbos, Sabbath. We're using 2 books of the month this June. The first one is called Sabbath by Wayne Muller. Some of you may have read it, and I love the subtitle, Finding Rest, Renewal, and Delight in Our Busy Lives. Who wouldn't want that? The other book is one that we have tended to use for practitioner training, Care of the Soul, by Thomas Moore, and the subtitle to that one is A Guide for Cultivating Depth and Sacredness in Everyday Life. And I feel like that's what we did at Shalou's on Sabbath evening. We created depth and sacredness in what could be just, in my family we used to do Friday night pizza night. We'd go rent a movie for the kids, buy a candy bar, go to have pizza. But this was very, very special time. In our culture, Wayne Muller, author of Sabbath, says we have really lost the balance, the healthy balance between work and activity and rest. And I think that's oftentimes true. In our culture, we tend, and I've mentioned this earlier, we tend to think of somebody who has a lot of money and very little time as successful and rich, and somebody who has little money but lots of time as poor. And I think that's misguided, In Japan, I saw a documentary fairly recently, about a phenomenon that's happening among young men who are working hard and climbing the corporate ladders. There is an expression in Japanese called karoshi, and what it means is death by overwork. There's been a phenomenon where young men, late 20s, early 30s, and so on, are dropping dead without any precursor, without any warning of some underlying medical condition. But research shows, and this is funny because I don't think we really need research for all of us to know, that when we're working 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week with very little break, it is not good for our health, physically, mentally, spiritually. It's just not. And in our culture, I think consumerism is off the charts, and I think I'm guilty of that too. We like buying things. I read recently that we as Americans spend 3 to 4 times as many hours per year shopping as Europeans do. Right? Yeah. I mean, how much stuff do we really need? So I think that maybe we need to expand our definition of wealth, as Muller says, to include things that grow with more time, to connect, to relax, to take a walk, and so on. There's ancient wisdom in the Chinese pictographs. I often talk about this. The pictograph in Chinese for busy is made up of 2 characters, heart and killing. Wow, huh? That is a lesson in itself, is it not? Yeah. Some plant species need to be dormant during the winter in order to bear fruit. Otherwise, they don't bear fruit in the spring. And if they're kept from being dormant, eventually they die. Eventually, if the whole species is kept from being dormant, the species dies out. And I think the same may be true for us. We need that downtime. In Wayne Muller's book, he interviewed a doctor, a physician named Charles. Because here's the thing, before I tell you this little story, I think we tend to think, work hard, the Protestant work ethic I grew up with, like work hard, accomplish more, right? The harder we work, the more time we spend, the more we get done. Not necessarily so, and I think we all intuitively know this. Charles told Wayne Muller, the author, that when he met with patients and he was exhausted and overworked, and God knows we still do that to our interns, right? He would meet with a patient and hear the series of symptoms, and he would be confused, and he couldn't quite put everything together to come up with a diagnosis. He was just not clear-headed. Contrast that with days when he got a good night's sleep and he felt well rested, or he had just gone on a little walk before he met with a patient, and he'd sit there and his intuition would kick in and he'd get a clear picture and he was able to make a diagnosis. So in the first part, when he was overworked and tired, he would order a battery of tests to try to figure out what this meant. When he was rested, he had a pretty good idea of what was going on, and if he wasn't sure, he'd order one test to confirm it, and he was usually right. So life lessons. I know a lot of us in here, a lot of you are retired, but I have found that I have many friends who complain that they're more busy in retirement than they were when they worked. And it's a choice, but there's something in our psyche. Take professional people. If professional people are really busy and overworked and don't have enough time to play, it's kind of like a badge of honor, I'm important, instead of considering it violence. My son is, an attorney, a young attorney working to make partner, and he is working. I'm worried about him. He doesn't sleep enough. He works way too hard, and I know that he's not an isolated case. Do you remember growing up, some of you are old enough to remember, when shops, like a lot of shops, were closed on Sunday? And it maybe was annoying, but mostly it was nice because you could spend the afternoon doing something fun instead of shopping, and it gave the families of anybody that worked in that store time off. And gosh, it's hard to find any places that aren't open on the Christian Sabbath at this point. Without that opportunity again to be dormant and to be clear and to connect and to breathe, life is not as peaceful. So many religions have some form of Sabbath in their practice. And of course, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, remember the Sabbath to make it holy. It's a commandment. It's not a suggestion for a lifestyle. It's a commandment as important as, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, etc. It is a commandment. I think there certainly have been times in Christian religions, and maybe in Judaism too, where the practice of Sabbath was kind of onerous. You can't, I think in the Jewish religion, I think I read there are 38 things you cannot do traditionally on the Sabbath. Many of them had to do with rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. But if done in a kind way, I think Sabbath is more about set aside all of the work utensils and tools and enjoy yourself, play, spend time in quiet, or spend time with friends or family or chosen family. And that's a beautiful thing, really. I feel like I'm lucky in that I consider spiritual practice part of my job. I wouldn't be a good minister if I weren't, doing what I preach about. And that's a blessing. So I had an experience last weekend. I wasn't here. It's interesting, too, that Rev. Michelle last week talking about the fourth pivot, which is from hustle to flow. It was a tangential talk to this because she talked about, turning things over to the divine instead of working really hard. And that's when a lot of times things get solved, problems get solved, solutions come to mind. So last weekend, I had the opportunity, Reverend Linda Rapon, Dr. Linda, purchased property about a year ago on Ketron Island. It's this small island in the Puget Sound off the coast of Tacoma. I think there are 22 permanent residents on this island. It's that small. She doesn't have a home there yet. She wants to build a cabin, but right now she has an older, small RV, and so when friends come, we camp. I was staying in a tiny home that her daughter Megan built, and it was really just a little structure on wheels with a full-size mattress, and that's all it was, and some windows overlooking the sound, And it's so isolated. You have to get there by ferry. It's not far. It's only maybe a 10-minute ferry ride, but you usually have to go to Anderson Island first, so it takes about an hour. And there are ferries every hour on the hour from early in the morning till late at night going to Anderson Island. There are 3 ferries a day to get to Ketron. And we just had such an amazing time. I was offline. I didn't make phone calls. I didn't text. I didn't post on Facebook, which you all know is not like me. If I'm having a good time taking lots of pictures, I didn't post. And my nervous system just settled, and I slept soundly, more soundly than I can remember. I slept 10 hours a day some days. We'd go to bed with the sun, and I'd wake up and there'd be light, but my cat wasn't there to wake me up. I'd go back to sleep until 8 o'clock. It was wonderful. The big event of the weekend, there is a neighbor that lives there that has a small flock of sheep, and he invited all of us. There were some younger 30-somethings camping with us, 2 women. He invited us to go he walks his sheep every day. Honestly. And the real thrill of it, I didn't have time to post pictures here, so maybe I'll put them on the Facebook page, but there was a mother ewe who had just given birth the day before. So there was this day-old lamb that came along with us. They didn't make the whole, it was a long walk, and then we went up a big hill into the forest, and they didn't do that. Bless her heart, she had just given birth, and this little one was just walking. But it was so, so very sweet. Lots of hiking. I love walking on the beach, and I brought home I don't know how many pounds of little rocks and made a little, me. I love shells. So that kind of time being in nature, just appreciating the beauty and taking it in. And then the crowning blow, in a good way, was Monday, Memorial Day. Linda and I both did, I would say, a 2.5 hour meditation outside overlooking the water. And at the end, when we were coming out of it, we looked up and a bald eagle flew right over our heads. So I share that just because it wasn't in my head a planned Sabbath, but that's what it was. To just relax and let go and just be. Rabbi Zellman suggests we begin our Sabbath simply by saying, "Today I'm going to pamper my soul." I love that. So a Sabbath doesn't have to be on Friday night. It doesn't have to be on Sunday. It can be whenever we are able to do it. Setting aside a day, maybe a half day, maybe even just one practice that we do, mindfully, intentionally, to take that respite and to connect with the God within and the God without. So our weekends or days off need to not substitute for a Sabbath, because typically, I know a lot of us, when we're working, the weekend becomes do the laundry, do the errands, do the grocery shopping, do the house cleaning, right? That's not Sabbath. It may be important, but it's not Sabbath. So there is astounding wisdom, as I mentioned, in the way the Jewish Sabbath is commanded to be celebrated. It starts at sundown on Friday. So that could be 4:30, maybe even 4 here, right, in the Pacific Northwest, in the winter and later in the summer, and it ends at sundown on Saturday. So what does that mean? That means you put down, if you're in the middle of a phone call, you put down the phone, you don't finish the phone call. That means if you're in the middle of a project for work on Friday afternoon, you leave it undone. If there are emails to be answered, you leave them. You put down the plowshare, as the Bible says, but you put down your pen, you put down your cell phone, you put down the computer, and you stop. And the beauty of that is, even those things that are still on our to-do list often we get clearer about it when we take that time off. I love that. And again, we get to decide how we want to celebrate our Sabbath, how we want to practice it, but it's not a bad idea, I think. So Muller has many suggestions in his book for ways we can practice that renewal time. And I know I'm preaching to the choir to some extent because we have a full house here, and you're all here on the Christian Sabbath as part of your spiritual practice, right? But I'm guessing many of you, like me, don't always remember to take that time away. So here's one idea. Maybe some of you have heard about this, a Sabbath box. In some Jewish families, when people come in for the Friday evening meal, like we did at Shaloo's, there's a box waiting, and as people come in, they place in the box anything they want to leave behind for the next 24 hours. So a cell phone, a laptop, pens, whatever, car keys maybe, and we're just going to stay home, right? If the things we're leaving behind are too big, like a box computer, maybe you put a symbol in there for what you're leaving behind. If there are to-dos on your list that are worrying you and you want to set them aside for the Sabbath time, you can write a note on a piece of paper and put it in the Sabbath box. And then when it's time to finish and you leave, you take the things out, but the suggestion is you don't just take them out and go back into the rat race. You're mindfully taking them out now that you're more relaxed and connected and perhaps have had some inspiration, intuition, and divine guidance, and you go back to your daily life and affairs. Another simple practice is a meal, like the Shalus did, to make the table look pretty with flowers and to light a candle and to say a prayer and a blessing of everybody there, and perhaps giving thanks for all the people that grew and packaged and sold and transported the food, to make it sacred, to make it holy. Taking a walk can certainly be a Sabbath. I know being in nature, yes? Being in nature, and somehow our bodies become in rhythm and in tune with the natural world around us, whether it's the waves on the ocean or the breeze in the trees, can be so relaxing, so renewing. A prayer is a portable Sabbath. You can do it anywhere at any time. And at Plum Village, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh used to ring a mindfulness bell randomly every so often. And when he did, everybody at the village would stop and take 3 mindful, deep breaths, and then go back to what they were doing. Imagine if we did that. You could decide when. Maybe every time you walked through a doorway, before you walked through, 3 deep, mindful breaths. Maybe anytime you get in or out of the car, anytime the phone rings. I mean, it's a really simple thing. But imagine the effects that it can have on our body, mind, spirit whole. Finally, I guess what I wanted to talk about is the practice of Sabbath time, restful renewal time, connection time, not only benefits us as individuals, it benefits everyone we come in contact with. And here's the deal. If we are rested and refreshed, we tend to be more patient, we tend to be more generous, we tend to be more attentive, especially if there's anyone that we have in our care, whether it's an elderly parent, a child, a grandchild, right? I mean, parents know this. Parents oftentimes, especially when our children are young, are not well rested and overworked, and it's harder to be patient and loving and kind when we're not caring for ourselves. Muller tells us that the human spirit is naturally generous the instant we are filled. Our first impulse then is to be useful, to be kind, to be giving. So honoring our Sabbath time, I contend, helps create a kinder world. Would you agree? Yeah. Once people feel refreshed and nourished, Muller says, we can't help but be kind. It just comes naturally. And I love this quote. He says, the world aches for the generosity of a well-rested people. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from both Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, who said, be still and turn within to the great source. So much can happen when we do that. So much peace, so much insight, so much clarity. And Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind, said, heaven is within us, and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And I don't think we become conscious of it when we're on the hamster wheel, doing. We become conscious of it when we get still, when we get silent even taking a walk in the woods with a loved one or a friend, and maybe making the walk out in silence, and then having some conversation on the way back. So Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Let us celebrate Sabbath in peace, and let us then not only feel peace, but be able to spread peace. Let's go into prayer. As I listen to the gentle sounds of our teens in the next room, and I'm remembering Ami's beautiful song about one verse, universe, I absolutely know that there is one life living itself as everyone in this room, as everyone in the next room, as everyone in the world. One life. That life is God's life. That omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient power that wants only the highest and best for each of its creations. God did not intend for us to live life exhausted. God intended us to live in peace and in joy. And so each one of us has within us that ability to get still, to connect. We are not separate, even when we may feel separate from our source. The truth is, it breathes us, it lives us, it surrounds us, supplies us, guides us, stands ready always to give us the answers, to give us rest. When we surrender any problem, any issue, any illness, any condition, Spirit knows the way. Spirit prepares the way. So I speak my word today, knowing that as each of us rekindles our understanding of remembering the Sabbath, remembering means it's something we already know, but maybe we forgot. To take that time to renew, to connect, to be inspired and filled, and to then be able to spread that kindness, that patience, that joy in ripples out to everyone we come in contact with, and eventually out into the world. I give thanks for this concept of Sabbath. I give thanks for all the beautiful teachers that we study in our New Thought traditions and ancient wisdom as well. I give thanks for this day and this part of our Sabbath practice together. And right now, I just release this word into that beautiful law that stands ready always to receive the word, to receive the impress of our thoughts, and to say, yes, my beloveds, it is done already in the mind of the divine. I just let it go. I let God be God. And we say together, and so it is. Amen. We're going to bring back Ami.
Thank you for that beautiful message. This is a song along those lines about coming back to that place of connection. Earth and sky, skin and bone, a dream. I called home, the sun is hot, water is wet. Now remember, then forget. But how could I miss this? It's okay. Everything is fine. Gratitude is warm and kind, an open hand, a bird in flight, a gentle breeze on a windless night. Such a tender kiss.
this. Oh, I surely hope we get you back. And don't forget, you can take this guy home with you. He's got CDs for sale in the next room. Thank you, Ami. Time now for our tithes and offerings. Ellen and Sue, our ushers, come on forward, ladies. This is a time when we share our good with places where we're spiritually fed. That is the idea of tithing. I'm going to invite you to say our affirmation after me, if you would. Graciously I give, from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. So it is. We have a few announcements. There's a lot going on. I'm going to ask our teens. Sophie, you the only one, or the others to come on forward. Our practitioners will be meeting today around noon here in the sanctuary. Lots of things going on Tuesday. So before our teens come up, let's see. Jean Hannah, where are you? You want to come on up and talk about?
It's not really till next week. So.
Okay. Next week is the supper and the spiritual.
I get mixed up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Tuesday, brown bag supper, watching spiritual interviews, awesome time. And the Kirtan service is next Saturday at 7 p.m. here, so that is important to remember. So now I'm going to ask our teens to come up because you guys all need to stay for lunch because it is an incredible salad bar these guys have. Tell us about it, Sophie and Hannah. Malachi.
Malachi.
Mention you.
We're so grateful to be here, and we're so grateful for all of you to be here because we have an amazing salad bar, and it's a fundraiser for us to go to camp. We have to raise over $2,600 to get there.
So it's going to be a ridiculously overpriced salad. You're probably going to be like, what is
You may
this?
not even want to get it, honestly.
To be honest, but it is really good.
It's good. Don't get me wrong.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
We worked really hard. Well, we didn't. Our moms did. But, same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody else brought it. Now you have to buy it again.
Basically so. But it's for a worthy cause.
Yeah, so us to go to camp. And that's if you don't know what camp is, it's like this teen camp in July for all the teens in all of the CSLs around the country, I think.
And you may be thinking, okay, a summer camp, really? You're just going to go there and goof off. And yes, we may goof off, but we also make really amazing relationships. And it's not just a summer camp. It's a really spiritual summer camp. And I know that, I was going through a hard time and last summer and I went there and it really helped me and it made me feel so protected. And honestly, we forgot what the outside world is like. It was we forgot, we were heading back and we're oh wait, yeah, there's actually still world hunger, there's actually still racism, there's still sexism, there's still all these things, and we had completely forgotten about them because everybody was just so accepting in this camp. So really, it's important, and I know we kind of joke about it, but honestly, it's a really amazing place, and we hope that you guys can help us raise some money to go there this summer.
Yeah, I actually cried when I got back home last night.
I just slept.
I slept. Okay.
Sleep for a week.
Anyways, thank you for listening. Have an amazing week.
And enjoy the salad.
Yeah.
Oh my, so it is a love offering, so please do stay for lunch. And you know, it is, I was an advisor at winter camp one year, right before COVID, and I was astounded. I was telling Shannon Schnibbe, who's going to be one of our advisors, all right, hang on, let me finish my sentence, Anna. And I told her, it's amazing the deep work that these guys do. It is not just fun, it is fun, but deep, deep healing work. It's awesome. Okay, Hannah.
Okay, what we all forgot to mention is besides the salad, my mom is also offering massage, so you guys can sit there and get massage. She is an absolute amazing therapist. It's like incredible. So she's also contributing massage. So if you guys don't want to buy a salad, or you do want a salad, you also want a massage, you can kind of split the money and donate it that way. Thank you.
Sounds like a great Sabbath practice to me. All right, let's see. Let me get back to my announcements here. Jean, we did Bonnie Anderson has a class coming up Tuesday, and since she's here, let's hear about it. Bonnie.
Hi, Ami. Ami used to come to our center a lot in Roseburg, so it was really precipitous that you were here. Hi, everybody. Just real briefly, I'm teaching a class on Zoom, starts Tuesday night. Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead. The book is wonderful. You see all the little tabs I have on it. And it really dovetails with the talk that Reverend Kimberly gave today, the wonderful talk. And you can sign up in the social hall. We have a great class already. We have a few more openings. So if you want to join us, it's not too late. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Reverend Bonnie. Guaranteed to be awesome. And if you're not receiving our newsletter, please make sure you sign up in the social hall. If you don't have a name tag yet, there's a place to sign up back there. We'd love you to wear your name tag so we can all get to know each other, especially for new people. And boy, our meetup. How many of you were at the Blue Lightning concert? Yeah, a bunch of us went to Roxy, and I was too tired that night, but oh my gosh, we've had a great time dancing together. So our meetup group does a lot of fun things. It's organized by our board president, Kathy Green, so check it out and join us. Let's see, I think that's about it. We do have a prayer box in the back of the sanctuary. We're glad to pray with you all week. Unity has a prayer box as well in the social hall. It's not impossible or illegal to double dip. You can have prayers from both teams there. And let's see, I think that's it. Let's have our practitioners and ministers come forward. Just a reminder that they are available after service for what we call a 5-minute miracle prayer. I always say don't leave here with a heavy heart. If there's something on your mind that you'd like some healing prayer for, it is their pleasure. Look at these folks, wow. And I'm going to leave you with a benediction from Wayne Muller and then a closing song from Ami. Muller wrote this. Sabbath reminds us that we all are already and always on sacred ground. The gifts of grace and delight are present and abundant. The time to live and love and give thanks, to rest and delight is now. This moment, this day, feel what heaven is like, have a taste of eternity, rest in the arms of the divine. Shabbat Shalom, my friends.
So we're going to stand for this last one, if you'd like to. You can stay seated if that's better for you, but I think you'll all recognize this one. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. In my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Have a great Sunday, everybody.